Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Melanie Gray with another episode of Code Calm, the podcast that brings you tools and resources to increase the calm in your life so that you live better and live well. Today, I'm so excited to have as my special guest, Alex Sanfilippo, a podcaster and founder of PodMatch.com, a platform that matches podcast hosts with guests for interviews using AI. He has a wealth of experience. He became an entrepreneur at the age of 6, and he has a lot of information and wealth of experience to share on how to manage change, manage stress, and stay calm. Alex, thank you so much for being with us today.
Dr. Melanie, thank you for having me. I absolutely love what you do, and I'm just honored to be here today. So thank you.
Thank you so much. So, Alex, you have can you give us your summary, your kind of little bio in 1 minute, and it'll lead us into being calm?
Yeah. So real quick, you mentioned when I was a little guy, I started being a business guy. I started selling used golf balls as a kid. And that's kind of weirdly enough, as a little guy like that, the light bulb went off my head and I realized, I'm good at this business thing. High school, or all the way through high school, I was selling things online. eBay had just become a thing. I love buying things, flipping them. I started a technology startup when I got good on computers, and I started that in the real estate industry. Started investing in property. Real estate crashed, moved over to aerospace, and I did a 15-year career in aerospace. Loved it. That company was small, privately owned, and by the time I left, it was a publicly traded multi-billion-dollar organization. Loved my time there, but always had this this thing inside me saying, go back to entrepreneurship. And about year 13, I started seeing an opportunity to do that. It's ultimately led me to starting PodMatch. And now I'm full-time. I'm a software founder now. And I'll be real, Dr. Melanie, I think that if God put me on earth to do something, it's what I'm doing right now. And I believe that my core, and I can feel that, and I can see the impact it's making. And that's where I'm at in business today, is just full-time software founder. And I absolutely love it and feel like I'm doing what I was made to do.
Well, I love that you said that, and that you shared your journey, because many people think that to be an entrepreneur, there's no history behind it. It just kind of happens. There's a path. So I was listening, and I'm hearing like a maybe 20-year journey that led up to PodMatch.
I mean, if you count from when I was like real young selling used golf balls, it's like 30 plus at this point.
Wow.
But I'd say like real business where I was paying taxes. 20 years leading up to it is about right.
And so what are the similarities in stressors from corporate America for our corporate leaders, and also being an entrepreneur? Are there similarities in stress, and how do you manage that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that especially at first for an entrepreneur, like if you're just getting started in a corporate job, you just have a different stress. Like if you're starting a business, if I have a brand new business, like how am I going to get paid is what I'm stressed about, right? But if you're just not starting a corporate job, what you're trying to figure out is, am I going to do a good enough job to make it past my 90-day evaluation? So like the stress exists across the board. And I will say it's totally different. What I was stressed about when I was a corporate guy was meeting numbers for shareholders and the board, right? Like, and keep them happy. And now it's totally focused on how do I serve my members, the people that are using my software, really well. And that's where all the stress comes from, is how do I take care of those individuals? And of course, keeping in mind the team that's behind you, because as leaders, we've got teams behind us. So like we carry that stress, but we want it to not transcend to them so that they can just focus on delivering what they're supposed to deliver, right? So we kind of let it stop with us, which is maybe not always good, but sometimes you're that shield between you and your people.
So there are metrics in corporate and there are metrics in entrepreneurship that can drive stress. What about boundary setting? Was there a challenge in your corporate experience in managing boundaries? And is it more difficult when you own the company?
So in corporate, the boundaries I had to set were actually always with management. Even when I was at C-suite level, it was shareholders, it was the board, where like I had to have some personal life. I don't know, Dr. Melanie, if you've ever, I know you have, but just for everyone listening, like when you get the chance to go salary for the first time, like you're really excited. You're like, no way, I'm gonna be on salary, I don't have to clock in and out anymore. That's translation for you're taking a pay cut, basically cut your pay in half, because the expectation is you're gonna work a lot more. And so in corporate, the issue was I was working a lot more hours than I should, and I didn't create healthy boundaries between me and the leadership. They just saw me doing it, so it became the expectation. If ever I took 2 hours off to go to the dentist, it was like, well, why aren't you working? Like, what are you doing? Right. Like, or I'm on my paid time off, like PTO. Right. And they'd still be like, why aren't you working today? Like, I know you're on PTO, but you really should get at least a few hours in and that was the expectation. And I'm not talking about the organization I worked for. I loved it. It was a good organization. Again, I made my name in the industry by doing that in aerospace, which I'm not in anymore. But now on the entrepreneurship side, there's a different expectations for us, but it's all around the people that you're serving. Because again, remember, you're the leader. Now you're creating something that people have an expectation of how it's going to work for them, how it's going to serve them. And so the pressure turns less into like, how long am I working, to how well am I delivering something for people. And so it's just different. Both, I think, have a very similar effect and feel on us, though.
But you had a sense, even when you were in your life in business and in corporate, that you have other aspects of your life that you needed to protect. You have a wife, and do you have kids?
No kids,
No
maybe
kids.
later, but as of right now, actively preventing. Sorry if that's inappropriate.
Oh, that's
but
okay.
Maybe later.
That's okay. It's all good. I've been married 38 years and we weren't blessed with any, but look, God keeps us busy too, right?
I love it. So true. Well said.
Being that you still have your wife, you have your work in your church, your ministry. I don't know if you play golf, or how do you protect that time? How do you understand how to protect that time, because you're a whole person?
Yeah, I think that this is where, again, as a salary employee, it can be tough. That's an easier line to draw if you just say it, like, hey, I got to stop working, right? So, but when you're an entrepreneur, like, there's no clocking in or out. As much as I work is as much as I get paid, or as much as I can serve, but there is a healthy balance, because I'm a firm believer that if we're not pouring into ourselves, we really run out and we can't pour into others. And so for me, I have seen the effect of making sure I have a true balance. So, Dr. Melanie, I'm not the most disciplined person, despite popular belief, but I'm really good about building guardrails around my life. And so I just found what works for me. So here's an example. My computer that I'm on right now, I'm technically the kid using it. And what I mean by that is my wife has what's called a screen time password. I don't have access to this password. My computer turns on at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday and turns off at 6 p.m. On Friday, and back on for a few hours on Sunday. I have no control over that, and I can't change that. Therefore, I can only work from 8 till 6. But I hired a personal trainer and I work out at noon. So 4 hours of my day, I need to be working out. I'm paying someone and they're expecting me to be there, right? So again, I've built these guardrails to make sure that I have some work-life balance. And I also chose not to use my phone for anything work. I don't use my phone really for anything at this point. I don't have any social media on it or anything like that. And that's how I just built a very hard balance of when I'm going to work versus when I'm not going to work. Because I have found that when I use the rest of my hours really intentionally with family, with friends, with Alicia, my wife, or serving people at our church, anything like that goes such a long way when I show back up in business. Like, I show up as a better business person, as a better entrepreneur, because I have taken the time to fill myself up in other elements. So I can show up with all this energy, all this joy to really serve people at the highest level.
Well, I love that you shared some rich nuggets. I love the guardrail nugget. That is a tool I think every listener can apply, regardless of where they serve, as a organizational leader, as a community leader, as a family leader, because there's always one person in the family that everybody comes to do everything, just because I'm that person in my family. But I love how you set up those guardrails and how you own it. You own it, and you really apply those to your life intentionally. And I love the intention in it.
It's got to be intentional, because we don't, like, if I go back to my corporate life, if I could go back, the one thing I'd change, again, I loved my corporate career. I cried my last day when I became a full-time entrepreneur with PodMatch. Like, I walked out the door and I just stared at the building and cried. And I'm like, I'm not usually a crier. So that's not like the wind changes directions, I'm tearing up, right? Like, it takes a lot, but I was just there by myself, just crying. Cause I was like, man, this is a close of a really great chapter of my life. But if I could go back, the one thing I'd change would be that I would have built these guardrails. I would have built these boundaries early on, because I think I actually could have showed up better. For my staff, especially, I would have showed up less irritable at times, right? But also just more enjoyment, because I wasn't doing it 24/7. It's hard to enjoy anything you do 24/7, right? Like, everyone we know loves sleep, but if I told you you got to stay in bed for 24 hours, you're going to hate sleep, right? Like, there's got to be a balance, a boundary. And so, yeah, I'm glad you brought this up, because I think that this is something that all of us, we have to come to terms with it. And so for me, like, now as an entrepreneur, I work 44 hours a week. I work 40 hours during the week and 4 hours on Sunday because I like to start my week off on Monday morning knowing what I'm getting into.
Mhm.
And that has worked out so well for me. I have no intent on changing it. I've been doing it for a long time now. And I just have to learn to get really efficient because I'm not like, well, I can always work longer. Like, no, that's not an option. I got 44 hours. I'm going to do the best I can. The rest of it, that time is spent elsewhere, filling myself back up, making sure that my life is meaningful and enjoyable outside of work.
I love that. And you know what is meaningful and enjoyable to you. Because one of the things I've noticed in working with people is they stay busy and they don't even know what's enjoyable to them. And somehow we have created this idea that exhaustion should be celebrated. And people equate busyness with productivity. And what I hear you saying that is the guardrails and the feeling of yourself help you become more productive because you show up better.
Yes. And this reminds me of something. A friend of mine, she's a college professor, and I think I was complaining. This was years ago. And I was complaining about how, like, yeah, it's like the more I work, the more I have to do. And I'm like, I feel like I'm working all 24/7. This was back when I was doing, actually, it's back when I was doing the corporate job and PodMatch because a little bit, there was overlap there. Like I was building up the startup to see if it could work. So it was nights and weekends. And anyway, she just sat back and she goes, well, Alex, the work will never be finished. And those words, the work will never be
Never
finished.
be
I don't know
finished.
why, but it hit me so hard. I still write that down every day to remind myself, you know what? No matter what I do, if I have the best work day I've ever had in my life, the work's still not finished. It will never be done. And I don't want to just be busy. I don't want to just be productive. I want to live a life of meaning. And that means understanding that, you know what? It's not going to be done today. And that's all right. Today I can either stab at it. I can make it as purposeful as I can, but I want my life to have meaning beyond just being busy and hustling all the time. I just don't want that to be me. I find I get stressed out when that happens and I get really anxious when that happens. But when I live at this calmer pace, I tend to enjoy everything, work and life.
I love that. You're being intentional. You know what you enjoy. You know how you want to show up and you know how you are read. And my experience in this transition of my life is that people do not always know how they're showing up, and they do not know how they are being read. So therefore, that amps up their anxiety because they're getting the response they don't want from other people. And it amps up their anxiety because they don't really understand, and they're stressed because they don't understand how they're showing up. What is their impact on people? And we do have control of that. And you're doing that by taking the time to invest in yourself and set your priorities.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that any business leader, any entrepreneur who's leading something, you've got to do this. And there's never a right time to start doing what we're saying right now. Like there's never the right time. Like it's just a commitment. You just have to say, okay, like I'm gonna build this balance in today. You can't say, well, once I finish this project, or once I hire that next employee, or once this, like that never stops. The pace of the world that we live in is not slowing down. Like we have to intentionally say, you know what? I'm pumping the brakes myself. I'm not gonna wait for them to hit themselves. Like we have to. And it's uncomfortable. It's counterculture,
It
but it's
is
very
definitely
rewarding.
counterculture. And people have this sense of I'm being an imposter. If I'm not showing up like everyone else is showing up, then I'm not really showing up well. And I think that is important to have a sense of yourself. And that's the other thing I hear you saying, that you're really clear, you're comfortable with who in your own skin.
Yes, very.
And was that a process and as a leader to be comfortable in your own skin?
Yeah, I would say it was actually a real struggle for me. Naturally, I'm a people pleaser. So I don't like to say no to people. I don't like to rock the boat. And still this day, that stuff makes me uncomfortable. I've learned to be more bold because I've seen the positive impact it has on my life and those around me. But speaking up can be tough for me, including defending myself. I'm very much so also like a servant minded individual where I'd prefer to help somebody else than help myself. And I'll make myself uncomfortable if it means I can do something for somebody else. And these traits I'm mentioning are not necessarily bad, just when left out of check, other people will take advantage of you, even unknowingly, if you are too much like this, right? Like, and that can show up in anything. That can show up in your friendships. That can show up in your marriage. It can show up in the people that you're working around, your employees even, or the people that you're ultimately serving, your customers, right? And so it's not come natural. It's been a lot of hard work and a lot of very uncomfortable work. And it's one of those things, though, that I know that it's the work that I have to do, right? Like I have to be willing to get uncomfortable to step into a better area of life or a better lifestyle that I want. So for me, it's been a process, and I'm I like to be actionable. So just for the name of being actionable, the way that I've been able to learn to do this is I have people in my corner that can be very transparent with. Like 5 years ago, if Dr. Mel, if you would have asked me this, I wouldn't have been able to give you a good answer because I'd be shy or scared or ashamed to say it. But now I've got people in my corner that challenge me in this way. Hey man, are you sticking up for yourself? Hey man, are you balancing your time well? I've just been surrounded by some really great people, and I built that connection with them saying, hey, I need help. And here's where I need help. And can we talk about it every week? So Sunday is my day where I connect with, I have 7 different people, 7 different guys in my life that I connect with and give them an update on how I've done, where I'm at and stuff like that. And they're there for me. They love me through it. I make a lot of mistakes, but with grace, they approach that saying, hey, let's get better this week then. So fortunate, so grateful, so blessed to be able to have those people in my life. But just anyway, being actionable. If you're like, well, Alex, how do I do what you've done? Have the right people in your corner and be honest with them, and they'll help you get through it.
So I hear you say that being authentic, having some accountability partners or people in your life that you can be authentic and transparent with, and that are going to be, and who are also going to be equally as transparent, holding you accountable. But that means that you have to have good communication skills and to trust. How do leaders find someone that they can trust?
Yeah, this takes like communication is key, right? And I think that is absolutely one of the biggest things in leadership is like being able to communicate so that your teams understand, so that people that are your customers understand, so that your leaders understand, right? Like communication goes a really long way. And that's kind of the key of it all is like consistent communication. So like I kind of look at like having good accountability, good friendships in your life, good people that can be mentors in your life. It's first off, consistent communication followed by positivity. Like, listen, a lot of what I share is negative, but I don't just pour all the negative stuff on them. Like every time me and Dr. Melanie are going to talk, I'm not going to be like, well, Melanie, let me tell you all the problems again. Because eventually Dr. Melanie is going to be like, dude, I need a break from you, right? Like
Really?
it's all doom and gloom. Like you can't do that. There has to be a level of positivity. And positivity might not mean that you're doing everything right and you're not going to lie about it. You might be like, I had a great workout this week. Oh, this last week I went to the Players Championship. It's right down the street from where I live, right? Like you can share like all the little wins and that counts as a positive moment. If the negative thing is what they're holding you accountable for, that's fine. But so again, it's that consistent communication followed by positivity. And the last thing is true transparency. True transparency, not just like I told them 90%. Like you've got to be raw. And that's uncomfortable. Like if you're really being transparent and you're not uncomfortable, I don't know if you're really being fully transparent. It's got to be uncomfortable for you and the person hearing it if you're going to be like real with it. And I'm so blessed to have friends in my life that I'm like, I can straight up tell these people anything and they're not going to walk away. I might get punched in the face, but they're not going to walk away. I'm just kidding.
With social media, it's so easy to have a persona, right? And
Yes.
it's not authentic. So I think it takes courage to be willing to have at least a core of people that you can be transparent with and honest with. I love that you mentioned someone told you there always will be more work.
Yeah. The work will never be finished.
The work will never be complete. I
Yeah.
think that's an important code for calm for the listeners because it's important to know that the work will go on. That's the nature of an organization. And if you burn yourself out, they're just going, and you can't come to work tomorrow, they're just going to move on. It does not stop with you. So it's so important, as you said, that you fill yourself up and that you have other aspects of your life in place, that you have friends, faith community, hobbies, things that fill you so that when life takes a turn, and it does more often than we, share always, that you're not left empty without that job.
Yeah.
Then another key point I thought you made when you were making the comparison between your corporate role and entrepreneurship was culture. Your corporate organization had a culture that they were expecting you to show up even when you were on your PTO, right? And some of our listeners may be in organizations and cultures in environments where that is the expectation. What wisdom would you give them if the culture is not allowing them the boundaries for themselves to be healthy?
When I reflect on this, again, I did not get this right when I was in corporate until my last couple of years when I was forced to create a balance because I was doing PodMatch as well. Like I had to stop working my corporate job when they were done paying me, right? At the end of 8 hours to start my other job I had at that point. That was the most work I've ever done in my life was during that time. So I can't say I got this right, but I reflect back and think about it. What it really took would be me going to my leader, whether it be someone in HR, whatever it might be. For me, it was the CEO of the company, and finding out what is the expectation of the work you want me to get done. The expectation was work more because of what, not because for the sake of working more. It was work more because the work's not getting done. Something's not happening. So what I should have done is said, what is the expectation of what you want me to do this week, this month, this quarter, however the company decides to run things, and say, great, I'm going to let you know I can work 8 hours a day and get this much done, and I'll have this done a week early for you. Now the expectation is set, and no leader's gonna be like, well, you need to be working more hours. No one's going to say that unless they're an awful leader, right? Like our manager in that case. Anyone's gonna be like, oh, if you can finish it a week early and work your 8 hours, like that's great. Like, let's do it. Let's get it done. It'd be setting the expectation, even reaching up for that. So whether you're a leader or not, we usually are in leadership and under leadership as well, right? So making that expectation for you and also the people that report to you, I think that that's the real key is vocalizing it. And Dr. Melanie, you already mentioned communication being so important. This is it. This is how you communicate it really well.
And how have you, and my final question is, how have you created a culture where your team sets boundaries within PodMatch?
Yeah, I'm really big on like working less now, which is funny, maybe a little bit too much. But I tell people, hey, like here's the job that we want to have done. When I say job, I mean like here's the task, here is the big project we're working, here's the objective. I kind of have them all set a little bit differently. And I just say, this is the expectation to get done. We've quoted it'll take us this many hours. Let's get it done. When you're done, just tell me. But don't feel like you have to work more. Let's get it done. And so for us, we've just built a culture where it's like, hey, we're not going to work ourselves to death. We're going to make our commitments. We're going to stick to them. We're going to get them done. And we're all going to be home for dinner. And if we finish early, then we're done early. And
Right.
I like that cadence and that pace. It's made it a really enjoyable work environment where everyone feels motivated to work harder because it's like there's an end to it, right? And so it makes it just an enjoyable thing to do together.
Well, Alex, I think you're going to have a lot of people reaching out to you to work for PodMatch after hearing that, and it sounds wonderful. So as we close, what would be your final code for calm for the listeners?
Yes, I try not to overthink this. Dr. Melanie knows this, but for everyone listening, I'm a listener of Code Calm as well. And so I like this show. So I was like kind of prepared for this. And what I really think would resonate the most with everyone is this quote that I wrote down years ago, and I still look at it every single day. And it's this: I am not in control of the outcome, only the levers that trigger possibilities. I am not in control of the outcome, meaning whatever happens ultimately is not up to me, but I know that I can pull the trigger of possibility. When I do this is a good thing. Something great could happen from this, maybe, right? But I've just learned to disconnect myself from that. It releases the stress, the pressure, and gives me this sense of calm of like, hey, I'm moving all the right levers, and I'm just going to believe for a great outcome because I'm not really the one who's responsible for that at the end of the day.
I love that. I love that. Well, you have all heard these wonderful nuggets from Alex Sanfilippo, founder of PodMatch.com. If you'd like, continue to follow him on this marvelous platform. Thank you again for listening. Alex, thank you for being with me today. If this episode of Code Calm resonated with you, please like and follow us. And remember to live healthy and live well. Make it a great day.